seconds and counting.
We just want to let you all know that this is just the beginning. This is the first goal. This is just the beginning.
Hey, what's good, y'all? Welcome back to another video. It's Anish. I'm joined with E and Drew. And the Texans have finally made their head coaching hire. They have hired 49ers defensive coordinator DeMeco Ryan as their sixth head coach in Texans history. And this feels so good, man, to get DeMeco Ryan, arguably or easily the top head coach candidate of this coaching cycle. And it just feels good, man. It just all lines up so perfectly. A former player for the Texans, a leader so early in his career, and now he's only 38 years old, and he's now the head coach of the Houston Texans. It feels just so perfect, and it feels so good to be a Texans fan in a while. This hire feels really good to have, especially knowing that other teams wanted him too. He wasn't interviewed by just the Texans. He was interviewed by the Broncos. Go was their number one candidate as well. So to know that the Texans got their guy and other people's guy as well is pretty rewarding. So what do you guys feel about this hire?
I mean, first of all, I just honestly can't believe that this is even happening. I'm so excited. Really might be one of the best decisions that the Texans have made in franchise history. The hire is fantastic. The story is even better. DeMeco Ryans was one of my favorite Texans, when he was playing. He was a leader, he was a team captain. He would always give it his all. He was a fantastic player too, by the way. He was rookie of the year. He was first team All-Pro in his second year in the NFL. He made 2 Pro Bowls, one in 2007 and one in 2009. This is just so cool, but he is a fantastic coach. Let's just look at some of the stats that the San Francisco defense put up this year. They were first in opponents' points per game with 17.2. That is ridiculously low, by the way. And then you go to opponents' yards per game, just below 300 at 299.7. That is second in the NFL, just behind Philadelphia. So this was pretty much the best defense in the NFL, coached by DeMeco Ryans. And the Niners had some injuries at time. They're missing players. They don't have a particularly deep defense, but DeMeco was able to put it all together. You had practice squad defensive linemen going out there and doing their jobs. You had players like Jimmy Ward playing out of position. You had Emmanuel Mosley out with an injury pretty much for the entire season for the Niners, and their secondary just played so well. DeMeco Ryan does so many things defensively that really kind of carry the Niners to being the best defense in the NFL. People are going to talk about the talent they had there and maybe try to take a little shot at DeMeco Ryan's there, but I don't buy it whatsoever. So a lot of things you're going to be seeing with the DeMeco Ryan's defense is like 4-3 and 4-2-5 sets. Niners ran 70% of their snaps out of a 4-2-5, which is really just a nickel set. So when for example, like Jalen Petrie, he's going to have so much fun in this defensive scheme. He's going to be all over the field, coming on blitzes, playing linebacker, playing one high. He's going to play a little bit too high too. He's going to be down at the line of scrimmage. He's going to be able to do whatever he wants. And you're going to see a lot of double A gap schemes where you have 6 to 7 defenders up at the line of scrimmage, and those guys can come and go at any time. DeMeco will send 4 to 7 pass rushers at any time. And then coverages. Like I said, there's going to be a lot of too high looks, but that doesn't mean it's just going to be Tampa 2 or cover 2 man. Often they'll just roll into cover 3, cover 9, cover 6. And those are just, forms of coverages, and it's a lot different than just playing Tampa 2 from what you saw with Lovie Smith. So a lot of people are going to be worrying about that, but don't worry. DeMeco Ryan brings a very diverse defensive scheme, but he's just so much more than a play caller, and he's a fantastic coach at that. He's a leader, great communicator. It's just truly special. He has so many traits that you look for in a head coach, and man, he's going to do a fantastic job. And I think he truly is the guy that's going to turn everything around and turn the Texans into a consistent and successful franchise.
Yeah, I mean, that was well said, Drew, especially about just how much fun Petre is going to have in this defense, because he's really about to break out next year with DeMeco. I mean, it's the perfect hire, in my opinion, especially after the last 2 years. The last 2 seasons were hard to get through, personally, speaking from experience. But now it looks bright in Houston. the future looks good. We've seen, like, from DeMeco personally, we've seen that players have really, like, talked about him. Fred Warner said DeMeco is the reason he is the man who he is today. Both of them came into the league at the same time. So DeMeco became the DC at the same time as Fred Warner got drafted to the Niners. And what's stopping Fred Warner from joining Houston and his old DC when his contract is up? I mean, just throwing it out there as an idea, something to look forward to even more. But yeah, I mean, what else can you ask for a young head coach? Our franchise right now is kind of like a blank page, blank slate. So you get a quarterback, you get a young head coach, and you just build. You draw on the blank slate, you write in the blank page, just get it there. It's going to be a fun ride for sure.
And on top of that, Nick Bosa had a very high praise for DeMeco Ryans as well. He said, I can say that he's one of the best he's ever been around. And he said that he's been really good, like navigating the different types of personalities on the team and also having such a good system. And he says that he's really figured out how to perfectly push us, but not push us too hard and not give us too much credit. And he says it seems simple, but it's really not. And he's gotten better at it. So, I mean, Bosa's arguably a defensive player of the year candidate this year. And so both of those all-star caliber guys have such high praise for DeMeco and credit him for a lot of what they've been able to do. And I'm just curious, what do you guys think about DeMeco Ryans? What do you think the NFL draft implications are for DeMeco Ryans? I know some people were thinking about, does this change what the Texans are going to do, or is it totally going to be a quarterback at number 2? What do you think anything changes, if at all?
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of people were, kind of hoping the Texans would potentially get an offensive, young head coach, one of the best play callers in the league. You had like Shane Steichen, you had Ben Johnson, who, opted out of a coaching consideration and things like that. But I don't think it matters, and I don't think it ever mattered. It didn't matter who you hired. It didn't matter if we're going to hire Jonathan Gannon. It didn't matter if we're going to hire Mike Kafka or Ajiro Evero. And now that we have DeMeco Ryans, we're still going to draft a quarterback. The Texans will draft a quarterback, the second overall pick in the NFL draft. I don't know if it's going to be Bryce Young or CJ Stroud or Will Levis. I sure hope it's not Will Levis, but that's beside the point. The Texans are going to draft a quarterback because that's what they need. That's what they need. There's 2 great ones available. They got their franchise coach, so now they need their franchise quarterback. I don't think that there was anything that was ever going to change that. And I think that just because DeMeco Ryans is a defensive head coach, I don't buy it when people say that makes them more inclined to draft a Will Anderson or Jalen Carter. Because I saw what DeMeco Ryans was able to do with not the most talented players and just be so successful. So I don't feel like he needs that. I feel like the team, the Houston Texans, Nick Caserio, Cal McNair, need a franchise quarterback on this team, and that's exactly what they will do.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything Drew said, not just because of, DeMeco and what he's worked with, but also, as I stated, it's really a turning point for the franchise. So you get your franchise coach, you get your franchise quarterback, and you just go from there. You go where they take you. And, moreover, this free agency class is very defense heavy. Like, there's a lot of defensive talent available. And, there's, of course, word around the league that DeMeco Ryans is one of the best DCs. And I'm sure a lot of players would love to play for him. Texans have the 5th most cap space. So it just makes sense to just go after some of the big names in free agency, try to convince them, have DeMeco be there in the free agency meetings, talk to them and just show them the vision that you have for this team, and go from there. There's a lot of options other than the draft if they want to build this defense.
Really good points by both of y'all. And just going off of that, yeah, I think DeMeco is going to have a lot of players are going to want to play for DeMeco. I think it'll be pretty interesting to see how DeMeco, just his sheer presence and personality, just wants people to play for him. And I think that's what we've been really, really needing these past few years is players that are bought into the system. And DeMeco's one of the best people for that. And so just going off of that, since DeMeco is such a young head coach, only 38 years old, a lot of people are wondering what his coordinators are going to be. Some people are suggesting that he'd get more veteran offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators. But what do you guys think about what his potential staff could look like?
Yeah, and I think his potential staff just kind of goes back to the people you have in San Francisco. I heard, Aaron Wilson talk a lot about, defensive coordinator potentially being the 49ers defensive line coach, Chris Kocherek. And that guy's done a fantastic job. We've heard talks about him becoming defensive coordinator a lot for the past 2 years. Of course, he could potentially be the 49ers defensive coordinator. I'm not exactly sure how DeMeco Ryan's going to be able to lure him away because based on the great things we've heard about him, I'm sure he'll be in heavy consideration there in San Francisco. But that'd be a huge plus for Houston. He has done such a fantastic job with all the 49ers pass rushers there, developing Nick Bosa, but also everyone remembers Charles Omenihu, the Texans' former defensive lineman. He went to San Francisco, and he's actually looked really, really good. So I would give the defensive line coach there a lot of credit for that. And I think that's been really impressive. And on the offensive side of the ball, someone that really intrigues me and someone we also heard a lot about from Aaron Wilson is Bobby Slowick. He is the 49ers passing game coordinator. He's just 35 years old. And like we said about the 49ers defensive line coach, he's also going to get a lot of looks for coordinator jobs in the future. So why not just add him to the Texans staff now and make him an offensive coordinator? Some interesting things about Slowick is that he started his coaching career under Mike Shanahan, Kyle Shanahan's dad. He went to work for PFF as an analyst, like the place where they record stats and all of that. And then he went to 49ers as a defensive quality control coach and eventually worked his way over to the offensive side of the ball. So he knows both sides, offense and defense. I think that's something really valuable for someone who's just 35 years old. This is his first year as a passing game coordinator in San Francisco. And obviously he doesn't necessarily call the plays, but he does, have to do stuff like design plays, game plan, and just find ways to be successful and give some input in that case. But obviously they have Kyle Shanahan there, so he doesn't really call the actual plays. But I think that eventually he's going to be a great play caller and someone who I'd really like to add. I've also heard things about Clay Kubiak. He's the 49ers assistant quarterback coach and the son of former Texans head coach Gary Kubiak, and also just the Niners run game coordinator Chris Forrester as another option for offense coordinator. So a lot of 49ers guys is what we're hearing at this point.
Yeah, I mean, Drew took the name I was going to talk about right out of my mouth. Is Clay Kubiak as a quarterback coach for us would be a very, very good hire, especially if he joins DeMeco. You pair him with a young quarterback. You saw how good Purdy looked, and with him at least, like I know it's not his system, but he is still the assistant quarterback coach. He definitely worked with Purdy, worked with Jimmy G, worked with Lance. So give him a young quarterback, make him the quarterback coach, and there's a lot of history with the Kubiak too. Like that family name in the NFL means something. So just have him there, have him on that staff, and just see what he can do as well.
And yeah, that's pretty much it for the video. Let us know your thoughts on this hire of DeMeco Ryans. We're all super excited for this new era in Texans football. We're getting new jerseys soon, hopefully. So maybe in the next year or so. So it really feels like a new era, and I hope everyone's super excited about this hire. Probably the most popular move the Texans have made in a while. But yeah, please let us know your thoughts, and please leave a like, comment, and turn on post notifications. Thank y'all for watching. Peace.